Hello and welcome to the Exante. Hello and welcome to Keto. It's a stupid name, but you're never ever going to forget it. And just wait until I get an earworm jingle to go with it as well. I need a show of hands from those people who watch this channel regularly, and for everybody who's watching this video. If you, after watching it, agree with what I'm doing, please take the time to click on one of the buttons below. I think they're about there, somewhere like that. There's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Make your choice, please. But watch this video first. So, why have I changed things round? Why have I changed Exante Diet Expert into Keto? It's kind of simple, really, much like myself. I'm moving on to a keto diet. I am absolutely convinced by the science behind the ketogenic diet. Reducing one's carbohydrate intake results in a much lower insulin level. Insulin is still produced, of course, but in following a keto diet, the spikes, the flood of insulin isn't provoked. And it's this flood of insulin, this blood sugar emergency, that causes the locking of the fat burning capability of your body. Keto is more Zen-like. It allows a more regulated flow of blood sugar as proteins and carbs from low GI vegetables are digested. It's a much kinder way to treat your body. A ketogenic dieter's body, in the absence of available glucose from the previous diet, which was based on high sugar carbohydrate foods, will, through the process of gluconeogenesis and ketogenesis, convert the contents of the fat cells in the liver and surrounding tissues into and the fatty acids into usable glucose and ketones. So, what's a ketone? Well, ketones are a type of chemical that your liver produces when it breaks down fats. Your body uses ketones for energy, typically during fasting periods or long periods of exercise, or when you don't have as many carbohydrates for it to rely on. Your body doesn't need carbohydrates going in to satisfy its need for glucose. The liver is quite capable of, as I've just explained, quite capable of doing just that, converting stored fat into a form that your body can use for energy. So, a ketogenic diet, very low in carbohydrates, it will be. And now I suppose you're wondering what exotic and wonderful foods are we eating on this scientific wonder diet? Well, the answer to that is actually to take all of the science out of the equation, dump it, and return to a more natural way of eating. Refined grains, processed foods, and anything that's been into a factory to make it edible are all taken out of the diet. I mean, seriously, did you think that a factory produced reformed meat product was ever going to be good for you? I mean, we've all seen those time-lapse videos where a sausage and egg McMuffin or something similar is left on a windowsill for months and months and months and nothing happens to it. It dries up a little bit, so it shrinks. But even flies and mold won't attack it. And now that's got to set off your eternal alarm bells, right? So it's out with the artificial food and it's in with the natural food. Because I don't trust the people that make their money from producing food for us. I don't mean farmers. I mean food scientists and whatnot in factories. I have doubts about their integrity, their morals, their ethics, and their scruples. But other than that, I'm sure they're nice people. So I'm going to be eating natural foods. So don't imagine I'm going to be crocheting my own muesli or something. It's nothing like that. And just imagine, for instance, how it was when your grandparents or great-grandparents were alive. Because in their day, people weren't obese to the degree that they are now, and I am now. I'm not becoming a teary-eyed nostalgic, by the way, because they also had things like diphtheria and whooping cough and scarlet fever and tuberculosis as well. But they tended to eat food that they could trust. They ate meat that was recognizable as part of an animal. They ate vegetables that were all different shapes and sizes and not one regulation size and length and thickness. Anyway, I'll be eating plenty of protein in the form of red and white meat, as well as loads of oily fish such as mackerel and salmon. Sardines are also recommended, but I'm not a fan, and luckily I have the choice. I'll be eating plenty of natural animal fats from dairy produce and from the meat that I eat. No margarine, which is 2 chemicals away from being plastic or something, wasn't it? And anyway, carbohydrates as well that are low on the glycemic index. So that, which involves, I mean, that's not quite so scientific either. It's pretty much avoiding root crops and eating stuff instead that grows above the ground. So no potatoes, no parsnips, no Brussels sprouts. Yeah, I know Brussels sprouts grow above the ground, but they are, in my considered opinion, about as appealing as putting a hairy testicle into my mouth. It's just not going to happen. Or not while I'm conscious anyway. So anyway, with that vivid mental picture still fresh in your mind, I'll change topic. So where does this new ketogenic Chris leave Exante? The Exante Diet has helped me to lose at least 13 kilos over the 3 months-ish, or shy of 3 months that I've done it. So for the remaining days of September, I will continue the September challenge because there are other people involved in it. And I want to see how we've all done. But from the beginning of October, I'll be getting myself keto ready by cutting back almost entirely on carbohydrates and shrinking my eating window. And yes, that is the other thing about the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting. Your body will lose more weight this way. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be dressing in a loincloth and living in a hole in the ground and going without food for unnatural periods, months on end. Far from it. I will simply be reducing my eating window to 8 hours a day and then down to 6 hours, and if I can, if it's possible, down to 4 hours a day. The reasoning behind it is to force the body to look elsewhere for its energy requirements. And I am in possession of plenty. The energy requirements that it will find will be in the form of body fat, and I have copious quantities of that. But through ketogenesis, etc., and keto, whatever it was, my body will become a fat-burning monster as long as I remain in calorie deficit. It's got no other choice, because I won't be taking in anything other than sugar-free flavoured water and coffee for the other portion of the day. Now, as far as calories go, I'm going to have to restrict myself to around 1,200 a day, which means that I'll need to find another 1,000 from available sources. And the available sources, as we've already explained, is my body's stored fat. But it doesn't end there, because on alternate days, I'll also be walking a 3-mile circuit. I found an app called www.mapmywalk.com, and you can program in a walk on either a map or a satellite photo, and it will give you an accurate measurement of the distance involved. You can also put this, share this onto your mobile, so that as you're walking around you can use the route map if you like. And here's another thing. Here's how to calculate the amount of calories that you will burn when you're walking, because everybody's different. Multiply your weight in kilos by 1.168, or multiply your weight in pounds if you prefer by 0.53. Mine works out to be 167 calories per mile. So 3 miles will be 501 calories. I will, however, still be using some Exante products later on. I will be reintroducing a small amount of carbs into my diet once I become confident that I can manage it. I'm still diabetic, very much so. And I think that the Exante diet is superb, but some of the Exante products are, at least as far as the ketogenic diet goes, a bit high in carbs. Some of them are around about the 40% mark, and although, of course, the portion sizes are quite tiny, it still mounts up, and I'd rather eat a plate full of fresh vegetables, sprouts accepted, than I would a chocolate caramel protein bar. But I like the bars, I like the porridges, I like the pot meals, and I may continue with them at a later date, possibly towards the end of October if I can get myself sorted out quickly enough. I like the way that the meals are easy to prepare when I'm pushed for time. I like the way that the portion is pre-measured, so I know what I'm eating, and they're very tasty. I trust that the Exante products provide me with an accurate count of carbs on the nutrition sheet, and I'll be taking in some of my food eventually in the form of Exante products. So they aren't going in the bin just yet. I feel very positive about what I'm planning to do. I'm hoping to accelerate the weight loss processes within my body and return to eating more healthily and more normally. With a few exceptions, of course. My new normal will have no bread, no crackers, no pies, no pastries, no cakes. My new normal will have no spaghetti, no penne, no fusilli or lasagna. So that went from Italian to Swedish. Anyway, never mind. My new normal will have no boiled, steamed or fried rice, and no potatoes, no parsnips, no turnips, no Swedes, no sprouts. So I hope you still find the channel of great interest and entertainment. I have plans to discuss many more topics that I consider to be important, because I think we've been let down. I think we've been let down by our scientists, who I believe may, in some cases, have been influenced by outside forces to push false findings onto us. I think they've been telling us that a particular regime, style of eating, the basis of your nutrition will be the healthy choice, when actually it isn't scientifically provable to be so. I feel that we have been lied to and pressured into eating far too much, and far too much of the wrong things. And I think that these falsehoods began in the boardrooms of food manufacturers. It's my opinion. It is also my theory and opinion that in this day and age, very few of us need more than around 1,800 calories a day. Which means that following the recommendations from our government to eat 2,000 to 2,500 calories is only going to lead to weight gain, to illness, and to preventable early death. I think we've been let down by our medical staff, and again recommended to eat foods that have the opposite effect on our bodies than that which we desire. And they're dangerous. They actually cause our bodies damage. And yet again, I think their recommendations have been tainted by the involvement of food manufacturers, who are allowed by law to pay for research, and who then have the power to pick and choose the data collated and spin the results, publish what they want, bin what they don't want, so as to flog more of their toxic garbage under the "this is good for you" banner. I think our NHS could be doing so much more. The adage, prevention is better than cure, should be applied more often. But at the moment, they aren't even providing the cure. They just up your dosage of metformin and shove you out the door. I believe that we should be spending a few billion pounds in this country providing testing facilities to monitor our health, and there is no better place to start and no more urgent cause than to begin with our body's insulin levels and blood sugar. I have a blood sugar meter. I have urine sticks with which to check for ketones eventually. And although a single fingerprint meter to the one I use to check my blood sugar is also available for ketones, by the way. There are lab tests. You can't do this at home at the moment, but there are lab tests available to check for insulin and other hormones. They aren't expensive when compared to the costs of treating a diabetic patient, especially when metabolic syndrome kicks in and becomes a problem and starts killing people. Remember this. Next time you check your blood sugar levels, remember, all of this was preventable. All of this could have been stopped in its tracks. If only they'd educated themselves and informed us correctly. Thanks for watching. Chat soon.